How did that happen?
We ran out of time.
We ran out of time. Oh, you've got a minute 30. You got plenty of time. Turns out, just enough time. Well, how long was it at 0?
It wasn't long.
Okay.
But it never went to time to go.
Yeah.
That's good. Good
Actually,
morning.
I did that about 7 minutes ago. I was moving stuff around. I looked up and it said ready to go. And I'm like,
oops.
So.
Good morning. It is Friday.
May the 16th.
Yes, we made it.
2025.
Another week.
For those keeping score at home.
Yeah, it's just about keeping track of the day.
Right. Well, we made another day.
We did.
Because we talked to them yesterday.
We did.
So
5 days in a row.
I'm Seth.
I'm Tammy.
And we are the 4031 family.
Yeah.
Part of it anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome to this edition of Morning Moments with Seth and Tammy.
Hey, I'm Tammy.
I'm Seth.
And these are morning moments.
with us.
Can you tell it's Friday?
It is Friday. So if you stumbled on us and haven't already liked the post on Facebook, followed us on Facebook, subscribed to us on YouTube, followed us on Rumble, then do that. And if you've only done one or two of those, then do the other ones.
All of the links to the different platforms should be found in this post. So regardless of where you are, you should be able to see our other ways to find us also.
Right.
And just going over and subscribing would be a great blessing to us, just so that we can hopefully reach more and more people and share God's word with more and more people.
There you go.
So
and
if you are here, like live, I don't see we have any viewers yet, but if you are here live, please feel free to chat along with us so that we can interact with you. If you're here after we were live, feel free to add your comments and we'll still follow up with you.
Yeah, so if it's after 10 o'clock on Friday the 16th of May 2025, don't expect an immediate response.
Right.
Nor will
or a shout out.
Or a shout out, right.
So can only shout you out live.
Right. We can shout you down. This is the internet after all.
But we won't.
Anyway.
What a week.
Right? And today is another day.
Yeah.
We got a lot going today.
We do.
We got so.
Busy day.
Busy day. But not too busy for us to take this time out with you.
All right, because this is part of our day now.
It is. We've done it enough days that I think we have formed the habit.
I think so.
Yeah.
Is it 7? I think 7 is that number. Like to do something 7 times.
I thought it was more than that. But
I don't know. But we're getting there.
We're definitely getting there.
Thanks for putting the air conditioner on.
Yeah. Yeah, the AC in here is broken.
We have a mini split. We're in our home studio, which is in our garage, Seth's office. And we have a mini split in here that likes to keep freezing over.
Keeps freezing up. So turn it on in the morning before we come in here and then just try and keep it cold all day.
I don't do well with the heat. So anytime I come in, I'm like, ah. So thank you for putting it on for me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
If you're not careful, I'm going to think you love me. But shh.
That'll happen.
It's not a secret.
It's not
Anybody who knows us knows that we love each other.
In fact, some might even say we love each other more than they love their own spouses. Whatever could I be talking about there, Mom?
Yeah.
Anyway. Is it my day or yours?
It's yours.
Is it my day?
Yes. Coming back to Dr. Thomas.
Dr. Thomas.
For the third of his series, Invisible Qualities.
Invisible Qualities. Today's invisible quality, authority. I don't think of authority. I mean, when is authority ever not an invisible quality?
When is it not?
Well,
when you're very vocal in your authority.
Yeah, but it's still not something you can see.
No, but it's something that
neither is faithfulness.
It's something that if you are a dramatic authoritarian, people will see that quality about you.
Yeah, I guess.
But I don't know. Why don't we see what Dr. Thomas has to say? And
well, that's a great idea.
Do you think the twins have told him that we're reading these right now?
I actually texted him yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
And told him?
Yeah.
Well, at least they're in devotions, so
right,
he's not tuning in.
Not tuning in. All right, today's devotion, Invisible Qualities, Authority. from Psalm 100. Know ye that the Lord, he is good.
You didn't put up our verse.
Well, that's because I'm reading, so you should be the one putting
I
up the
can't
verse.
see the screen, sweetie. Your phone's in the way. All I can see is that you haven't done it. Oh, this is coming to you from ICR's Days of Praise.
Okay, so I gotta go.
You got to go backwards.
Better?
If
Go.
you are interested in following along with our Days of Praise, you can go to icr.org/DOP for Days of Praise, and you can see it there on the website. You can also, I think, go to previous Days of Praise from that link as well. You can also sign up to receive it through your email, or if you wish to have a booklet in your hand, I've got one in the other room I should bring, you can have it mailed to you. They mail it out for a quarter at a time, 3-month window, and it's usually receive it well in advance to have it ready. But we're following along online. You can also online, they have the option to have it read to you. There's a play button underneath the title of the devotion, and it's, I don't know how long it is, but
5 minutes.
If that.
If that.
I mean, it doesn't take long to read it. It's 3 minutes, 9 seconds to have today's devotion read to you. We're going to do it in a 30-minute segment.
We talk a lot.
We
no, not
do.
you. That's us.
We do.
I should have done this.
So, yeah. Anyway, icr.org/DOP.
Well, one of the things about that, just to say, because there is an audio component too. I know ICR syndicates those out, so you can find the Days of Praise podcast, which is what we just talked about, reading the daily devotion, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube Music, maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But wherever you find podcasts, you can find ICR's podcast.
So look for ICR.
Yeah, there you go. And again, there's no sponsorship here or payment or anything like that. They're a nonprofit and they do good work, and so we'll.
Yeah. Here we go.
So.
Hey, why don't you put the verse up on the screen for us?
Ooh, that's very impressive, right? Know ye that the Lord, he is good. It is he that has made us.
God.
He is God.
He is
so
good.
You're saying he's not good?
He is good, but the psalmist wants you to say that he is God.
Know ye that the Lord, he is
God.
It is he that has made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Psalm 100, verse 3. As we consider that the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. That's Romans 1:20. We may notice one of the key motivations for those who deny God's handiwork in crafting our very bodies. And see, now we're going to get into the handiwork thing today, aren't we? Maybe not.
Probably, just given the verse of it is he that hath made us.
Right. Our psalm says we did not make ourselves. That seems pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But in order to make yourself, you would have to exist before your existence.
Yes.
Right. This violates basic logic. Likewise, the assertion that it is he that has made us demands that something outside of us made us. Mm-hmm. Obviously, right. Either nature gets credit or the Lord. Here translated from Jehovah, which means self-existent or eternal. But nature itself is created. Therefore, God is our creator, and if God made us, then we are his people, as today's verse asserts. We should do what he says, since he has that kind of authority.
He is God the Father figure over our lives.
Right.
And you honor thy father. I know that commandment's about your parents, but honoring that authority and following that authority.
Right. His authority over us is one of those invisible attributes that are clearly seen, being understood by noticing how carefully he crafted our bodies, from speaking lips to fingertips. That's a Brian. That's a Dr. Thomasism. What motivates us to suppress the truth of his rightful authority? Well, because we want to be the authority, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. Our unrighteousness does. That's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not science or any experiment or observation. Indeed, what experiment has ever shown that nature can craft even the simplest biochemical from scratch, let alone a whole integrated body. This is one of those devotions there's stuff in it that's just true and really can't talk about. On the other hand, says Dr. Thomas, if you humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, he shall lift you up. James 4:10. When we submit to the authority of our Creator, he gives grace to the humble. Also from James.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, and that submitting to the authority, that's the important piece of it, is the submission. I mean, we see that all throughout the Bible. You can move it somewhere else if you want.
I just want to go where it's readable to you, but... Sorry.
He keeps moving the screen around.
I'll move the other screen.
If you do it this way, you won't be able to see comments. So submitting to the Lord, or submitting in general, is throughout the Bible. Whether it's submitting to the Lord or the ever critical
authorities put in, or powers put in authority over you,
or the ever scary verse in Ephesians about wives submitting to your husbands, is not. Submission is everywhere. That verse in Ephesians gets taken.
Probably doesn't mean what you think it means.
Really not out of context, but it's received in a very negative way. Unfortunately, by the masses. It's unfortunately received by the masses in a very negative way. Let me put all the clauses in the proper order.
Where does Santa fall on that? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's May. I'm looking forward to Christmas in July.
Are you?
No.
Submission isn't meant to be a scary thing. It's just meant to be something that we do. As you talk about, anyone who has a job submits. You submit to your boss, who submits to their boss, and higher and higher and higher. Any child submits to their parents, who submit to their parents. I mean, okay, so not that I have to get permission from my parents to do anything, or from my mom, but she's still my mother, and therefore deserves my respect.
Yeah.
So that parent upon generation is not the same thing as employee to boss to boss to boss to boss. That's a different kind of authority.
Yeah, it is.
It shifts with parenting.
I like that you use the boss employee analogy in talking about that, because we don't often use that when we talk about submission. It's usually parents or whatnot, and parents is a good one just because God represents himself as father. However, it's important to know submission is such a loaded word. Mm-hmm. It's such a loaded word because people don't want to submit, right? And why don't people want to submit? Well, because they want to be the authority
over themselves.
But you're not always the authority. You can't. And the job is the perfect example. Everybody who proclaims their authority, regardless of whatever and whomever might tell them what to do, has a job, mm-hmm. right? and so they're going to be submitting themselves to their job. 99% of people. There are those self-employed, whatever. We can argue the edge cases. But the fear in submitting to someone else, just using the term very broadly, is that you're putting yourself down.
Yeah. Under.
Mm-hmm. And two, that you're putting yourself in danger somehow. That by submitting,
you're losing out.
You're making yourself vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to talking about submitting to God, it's really important to remember, when we talk about God's invisible attributes, one of them is justice and righteousness and love. These are all attributes of God. Submitting to God never means God will never. Well, let me check that. God will never disappoint you long term. I mean, I'm talking long term. God will never ask you to do something which has any kind of eternal negative consequence, right?
Nice job putting the eternal part in.
Yeah, well, I mean, he might call people to suffer.
Yeah.
And submitting to God might mean doing things that make you physically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But because we're dealing with God, because we're dealing with eternity with God, then that matters. That there's a verse somewhere that talks about, that we suffer for a time, right?
And sometimes that time is short-lived, and sometimes it is the rest of your life.
It may be the rest of your life, but that's only your life here.
Right.
Right? And by willingly submitting to God's authority here, through any and all circumstances, whether they're pleasing or uncomfortable.
When we submit to the authority of our Creator, He giveth grace unto the humble.
That's right. That's exactly right. That humility, He gives grace. And Paul is a great example of that, in the sense that he complained to God several times about some kind of thorn in the flesh. We don't know what it was, but there was something that Paul was stricken with, whether it was physical or emotional or whatever, or both. And God's response to Paul was, "My grace is sufficient." You're going to go through this, right? But we tend to think in the short term. We think of our immediate comfort. And so when we say, well, I don't want to submit to God because He may make me go live with the Aborigines in the outback of Australia with no electricity, and how am I going to have any of my devices? Well, it's you see what I mean? You limit, and you talk about your comfort as being more important than obedience or submission. But your comfort is only like this long, right? And it's this long, and this is huge compared to your comfort that we're really talking about when we're talking about the distance from Los Angeles to Bangor, Maine. This amount of time or distance is nothing compared with eternity,
right?
So don't let the word submission scare you,
right? Because
just like a dutiful, loving child submits to their parents,
so shall we submit to the Lord.
Right, because again, we can argue edge cases, but the vast majority of parents aren't going to do anything to harm their children.
Right.
Right? You're not going. I mean, you're not going to.
Well, and I dare say that those who don't have a very good relationship with the Lord, because if you've got the right relationship with the Lord, you won't bring injury upon those you love. So yeah.
Anyway,
wow, that got hard. No, so I'm part of a class at our church, a ladies mentoring program, and one of the topics is submission, and that's always a very edgy night. It's typically for the lady who runs that session. She says that there are a lot of times people conveniently don't come to class that night. Things come up. But I do also remember at a previous church, submission was very much the S word. You didn't speak it. You don't talk about it. And that's really a shame. I think a lot of people hear submission and they think in a very negative connotation. They think of it as especially in a sexually submissive connotation, which is a whole different thing. And that's not, I truly don't believe that that's what God's talking about in Ephesians when He says, wives, submit to your husbands. So when I've talked about this with Seth just in our own time when getting ready for some of these classes, and he says, you ladies have it easy. Ephesians says wives submit to their husbands, and men
die. Yeah, die for your wives.
So those of us who are like, submission, no.
Yeah.
He's called to die for me, just as Christ died for the church. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's, when you put it into perspective like that, I know he would die for me. I still very vividly remember the morning we became parents, and we started with twins, and they had to be taken by ambulance to another hospital, to a nearby children's hospital, just because they were 7 weeks early. There was nothing critically wrong with them. We weren't in danger of losing them. They just needed more care than was available at the hospital we were at. So he followed along behind the ambulance to take them, and he came back to me, and he just sat there and he held me. He said, I never got it until now, but I'd die for them. You know, and I know that's true of each additional child we've had. But that's such a, that's parent to child, but he's that was an easy twist for him to go to. It was an easy expression. It was true, still is. They're 26 now. He still would die for our kids. But I also know, and I have full confidence, that he would die for me. And I think that if we were to quiz or poll other Christian husbands out there, I'm pretty sure you'd get pretty same response. That
Probably.
they wouldn't necessarily see it scripturally the way Seth sees that verse in Ephesians, though I think that's what it says, but they wouldn't necessarily go to that.
It doesn't say die for me. I'll go
no, but it says submit to the whatever. He's going to pull it up.
I'm going to pull it up.
I know that the Christian husbands I know would easily give their life for their wife or their children. And I also have to say that there are many men out there who aren't Christian who would still do the same thing for their wife or their children. I'm not saying it's only a Christian virtue.
Right. Yeah, so Ephesians said, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, and even as Christ is the head of the church, and he's the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject to Christ, so let wives be to their own husbands in everything. Okay, so that sounds... And again, in the hands of people who are more selfish than godly, that has the potential of
a
being,
sexual
being
submission
being oppressive. It doesn't have to be sexual. Just being an oppressive situation, abusive, verbally abusive.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can definitely see how that could be lorded over a wife.
Absolutely. But the flip side,
the Bible says,
right? But the flip side is it says, husbands, love your wives. Well, that sounds easy,
right?
Even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. Well, what does it mean, gave himself for it? Well, he became Christ. We're talking about the incarnation? No. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. Well, how was that accomplished? By his death. You know, the call to women in Christian marriages is to submit. The call to men is to reflect God in that marriage.
Be Christ-like.
Yeah, be Christ-like.
I should see that you were...
I was going to say, be God. It's not about being God. It's about being Christ-like in reflecting. And so we go back to what I said before. Submission is dangerous when you submit yourself to... when you submit yourself to an ungodly authority. Mm-hmm. When you submit yourself to an oppressive...
To whom or to what are you submitting authority?
To whom or to what you're submitting. So, women, if you have married a godly husband, you should not be ashamed or oppressed by submitting to him. Does that mean he gets the final say in everything? No.
In the right Christian relationship, no.
No. Right.
Because it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Anyway. But, yeah, so...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be scary.
It isn't scary.
It's when done with respect and love, it's easy. I think it's been easy.
It should be easy. Yeah, it should be easy.
But yeah, so that was
We'll probably get banned from YouTube for this video.
Whatever.
Get canceled.
I'm not canceling you.
Thanks.
Sure. Well, it is getting to be that time to wrap up. We hope that you've enjoyed your moment with us this morning. It's been kind of a tough topic, but it all comes down to submitting to the Lord.
That's exactly what it comes down to.
And
don't be afraid to submit to
not
the
being
one.
afraid.
It's like the Bible says at one point. Why be afraid of the person who can kill you and then has no control over you? Rather, fear the one who can cast your soul into hell. You know, the point is not that you should respond to God out of fear. That's not the point there. The point is God is sovereign. He has total authority and control over you here and you later.
Well, and it's important too to remember, we were talking about the employer-employee relationship too, and I know we are running out of time, but I mean, it doesn't mean you're always going to have the best boss, but we're called to be respectful to those you look back to Joseph and, he was, or even those who were banished for wherever reason to wherever they were banished to, that's your home at the moment. You have to make it livable. And it's the same thing with your job. You can't necessarily control who your boss is, but it's your job.
You
and
make them, you submit yourself to the authority over you. Right. Because ultimately God is sovereign and he is the one who's responsible for that authority being over you. That's Romans. That's from Paul in Romans. Submit yourself, pray for your leaders, because their authority comes from God. Now, does that mean that God allows incompetent, ungodly, selfish, evil people to rule?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Is that because God is incompetent, selfish, or evil? No, it's because he is painting a picture with history that is bigger than any of us can see.
Yep. We're just a piece of the tapestry.
We're just a piece of it. Exactly right. So, anyway, this has been fun.
All right. Well, we have wrapped up yet another week of Morning Moments. We hope that you have a blessed weekend, and please be sure, as Seth had mentioned earlier, to go like and follow and subscribe to the different platforms. We'd greatly appreciate it.
We would.
And
check out our website at the4031family.com. Sorry.
We've got some more Tracing the Word books getting ready to be published, so we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions about our books, feel free to reach out to us at Seth or Tammy at the4031family.com. And always, if you have any prayer requests, you can send those to us or to pray with me at the4031family.com.
Indeed.
Whether you ask for prayers or not, we are praying over every single person who hears or watches these video moments. And we just hope that God blesses you with a wonderful weekend, and that you be safe and that your family be safe.
Indeed.
And thanks for tuning in. For the 4031 family, I am Tammy.
I am Seth.
He's God.
We are not.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Bye-bye.